I promise I didn't have him say it quite like that. Good morning, everybody, and thank you for joining us. You're not going to hear very much from me today because we have a really full program. My name is Janie Hipp. I welcome you to USDA's department-wide Native American Heritage Month celebration, and we thank you for joining us. And we thank all of our senior leadership for taking the time out of their busy schedule. I see Dallas Tonsegger and Ed Avalos here, who are our undersecretaries for, and who else is here? I think that's it. And then we have one of our new deputy undersecretaries who's going to be speaking with us today. So thank you both very much for being here. This morning, we have some very special things that we'll be walking you through and you'll be hearing about. Our theme today is Native Youth Cultivating Our Future. And I think you'll be very thrilled to hear from our speakers today. And we do have some folks here from FFA that I'm going to spend a little bit more time later talking about. That's Future Farmers of America, for those of you who don't know. And they are doing some incredible work to honor and celebrate and lift up Native youth around the country who are involved in FFA and are crafting themselves as our future leaders. So we're very thankful for them to be here as well. But before we start, I'd like to ask Noller Herbert, who is Dene. He is our Director of Conservation Engineering Division at NRCS. I'd like him to come up and offer our blessing today. And that will be immediately followed by the U.S. Military District of Washington Joint Armed Forces Color Guard, who will do our presentation of colors, followed immediately thereafter by Catherine Hill, who's, again, one of our own here at USDA, who will offer our national anthem. So could you please stand and remain standing throughout? And Noller, please come up.
Good morning. All my relations, good morning. I guess first off, I'd like to thank Jamie and the committee for giving me the honor to be in front of you to do the blessing for the activities that are going to happen this month. Some of them are happening already, and I appreciate the honor here. Before I actually do the blessing, I want to briefly cover the significance of the meaning behind the blessing is here. Like Jamie said, my name is Noller Herbert. I'm the Conservation Engineering Division Director. I'm Navajo, Dene, from the Four Corners area. My relations to the environment, to the earth, Minigoats clan and Sauk clan. And I see youth here that hopefully I'm related or an elder to you, so thank you. From a Dene way of life, it's all based on Hojo. You'll hear a lot of Hojo in my talk today. It translates to balance and harmony. Dene believes the world to be interrelated and all things exist in a state of balance and harmony. The key element of our way of life, including thinking, seeing, feeling, and interacting, is the concept of Hojo, which translates loosely as a combination of existing state of balance, harmony, wellness, peace, and completeness, where everything is running, working seamlessly together. And an example would be if you were to look at a traditional home for a Dene, our Hogan, or Howan, is all based on Hojo. The simplified translation sometimes we see on the internet or somebody talk about is to walk in beauty, which translates again to Hojo. For Dene, Hojo is everything, and the challenge is to keeping the universe from being disrupted and keeping it in a natural order by doing the blessing each day. So this morning, I'm honored to do the blessing for you, and included in this blessing, we will include our elders, those that have set the foundations for the things that we do these days. Also, our youth. We have youth with us, and hopefully the blessing would cultivate some knowledge that they can take home with them on their stay here in Washington, D.C. Our leaders, and also our veterans. our community, where we coexist with our living environment, and conservation work and Natural Resource Conservation Service, we refer to this as SWAPA: soil, water, air, plant, animals, and human. And last, you and your family and your loved ones. So again, it's an honor to do the blessing for you, and please remain standing. Shemana hostan shitkayat elkil. Ko hanaot aniba hetani tzoha hinane kreho. Ehani holyegaba ne kreho. It's shlejin hit nego ben hehani. Hada shit da yel kawa. Nikit nikehani no ben haho agiba hetani tzen. Adaho ne chedoni masane dan lego belkeda hit en habend nitale. Adako elchini elchinen has kregedon habend nitale jno. Is adole jno has sidole hat ashin yehol agi ye laho nayot letole lota jo hopaho ashman hastan shtkaydelkilon. Adohon hinat ani, these are the leaders. Adohon das baido are veterans. Tapeti no hon habend nitole hat ashin panish. Etel enige ben sakkes bet sketole bet is bet sketole jno ho altole. Adakon kehuit enido ho nal loshi oliego bet kehuit. This is in our environment, our community where we live. Again, we live and interact with our environment. But on hapen nitole. What habiketen idole hat ashitail any what naka jono insendole ho jonogo kehuit idole. Adon hito, this is you, yourself, your loved ones. What egon ni keten idole shemana stanch tradelkel ho. What egon jono galchene jon de khatole beltahni nani jono de khatole. Adon ho yo de ni nigan. Yo de ni nanin jono de khatole on hapen nitole. What ego so this sendole ho yo kali shemana stanch tradelkel ho. What ashina hojona hasli dole hojona hasli. Thank you, all my relations.
Thank you.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose bright stars and bright stars through the perilous fight, oh, the ramparts we watch were so gallantly streaming, and the rockets' red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say, does that star-spangled banner yet
Thank you. Please be seated. Today we are celebrating, as President Obama shared in his recent proclamation, the contributions of American Indians, Alaska Native, and Native Hawaiians to the character of our nation and their enduring achievements and contributions to our country. We're very excited today to have many very special guests, many of whom are sitting in the front rows here. Our theme today is Native Youth, Cultivating Our Future. We will have the opportunity to hear from 3 Native youth leaders who I will introduce in a minute. And we will also recognize the work that FFA is doing at the national level, as I indicated earlier, to encourage our next generation of Native youth leaders in agriculture. We are recognizing today the 13 Native youth from their community FFA chapters located in Oklahoma, California, Arizona, Colorado, Wyoming, and North Carolina. I don't think I missed anybody, did I? They are all listed in your program. And if you could just let me make them stand and turn around and face you just for a second, I would like for you to see them. Thank you so much for being here. And then I would be remiss if I didn't give a nod to their faculty advisors and their parents who are also here, as well as our national FFA friends who are here and brought them with us. But first, let's hear just for a few minutes Secretary Vilsack via video message. He really wanted to be here with us today, but he's still returning from travels overseas where he continues to work very hard for American agriculture. So if we could run his message at this point.
Hello, this is Agriculture Secretary Tom Vilsack. It's my privilege to welcome you to this event honoring National American Indian and Alaska Native Heritage Month. November is a time to recognize tribal cultures and educate the public about the heritage, history, art, and traditions of the American Indian and Alaska Native people. As President Obama has said, it's also an opportunity to honor and celebrate the importance of Native Americans to our nation and to the world. This administration has made great progress in building healthy and sustainable Native communities. We've worked hard to drive economic growth following the worst recession in generations and to provide good job opportunities for all Americans. At USDA, we've been part of this effort, helping to renovate schools, build new water systems, and bring broadband internet access to Native lands. We've announced an historic settlement of a lawsuit filed by Native American farmers and ranchers, and we've taken important steps to pursue a robust approach to tribal consultation with a new Office of Tribal Relations that reports directly to me, and a commitment to building stronger nation-to-nation partnerships across Indian country. I'm glad that this year's celebration is focused on Native youth. Building a better future for young people is the paramount challenge for the American Indian community, and USDA is actively involved in this effort. Earlier this year, I had the opportunity to meet with a few dozen Native American students from across the nation to talking about growing up healthy, alongside football star Sam Bradford, a member of the Cherokee Nation. We helped plant a garden, and we talked about USDA's work in partnership with the First Lady's Let's Move in Indian Country initiative, designed to build a brighter future and healthier future for Native children, as well as expressing the importance of getting outside and staying active. And over the summer, I met with another young person who you all will hear from today, Josh Moore. He helped lead FFA in his home state of Arizona and is a great example the sort of talented young people we need working in food and agriculture and strengthening our rural communities. There are so many more inspiring stories of Native youth who are pursuing exciting careers and communities offering good opportunities to help their young people. USDA wants to be an effective partner in helping these families and young people pursue their dreams. As you participate in today's program, I hope you can identify more opportunities for USDA to partner with Native American young people. You all know the landscape, the challenges, and the potential for improvement. And together, I know there's more we can do to support tribal nations, Native Americans, and build a stronger future for Native youth. As we celebrate the countless gifts and contributions America's Native people have provided to this nation, let us look to the future and renew our commitment to creating opportunities for Native youth around the nation. Thank you, and God bless.
Thank you, Secretary. We have an inspirational leader in our Secretary. We're also joined today by a new member of our team, Butch Blazer, and I'm going to ask him to make his way up. He has recently come on board as the Deputy Undersecretary for Natural Resources and the Environment, Forestry. He served Governor Bill Richardson of New Mexico as the State Forester of New Mexico, the first Native American in that position. He served as co-chair of the Western Forestry Leadership Coalition, 27 years as a BIA Range Management Specialist, Natural Resource Manager, and Agency Superintendent. He's the co-founder of the Native American Fish and Wildlife Society, and he was elected to 2 consecutive terms on the Tribal Council of the Mescalero Apache, of which he is a proud member. So, Butch, please join us.
Thank you, Jane. Welcome. I want to thank Janie for asking me to come before you today and share some words with you. We're all here to honor these young leaders that are before us and have been able to join us here in our nation's capital. And I want you young people to thank Janie before you leave, because without people like her and others that she's worked with, these kinds of opportunities for you would not happen. And I just am so grateful that we have her and our Office of Tribal Relations within the various departments throughout USDA and throughout the federal government, because again, these types of opportunities for you as young people, we've got to do that. We've got to create the situations where you can come into Washington, D.C., where you can come into your state's capitals and learn what government is all about. And again, you are our young leaders. You're going to be developing yourselves, and you're going to be stepping in to some very critical roles as you grow and mature. As Janie mentioned, I am a member of the Mescalero Apache tribe from south central New Mexico. I grew up on the reservation. My mother is Mescalero Apache. My father is Anglo. But my father's family moved there and settled right after the Civil War. And so I have a lot of history, both Indian and non-Indian, just right there where I grew up. And I feel very honored because of that. A couple of weeks ago, I was able to attend a meeting in Portland, Oregon of the National Congress of American Indians. And I gave a presentation while I was there on natural resources and in regards to, again, as Secretary Vilsack mentioned, the efforts of USDA in trying to continually understand how to better connect with our tribal governments and our tribal leaders in providing these support and services in agriculture to Indian country. But while I was there, I was invited to a luncheon to honor young people like yourself. And I was able to attend that luncheon. And it was stressed there, too, because too many times we go to an event like this, when we have our young people there, and we say our future leaders, our future leaders. Well, as I mentioned this morning, you are our leaders right now. If you weren't, you wouldn't be here today. And so you're already becoming the role models, the mentors for the young people that are back home. And that's a huge responsibility, and I ask that you take that very seriously. And because again, these experiences that you're having here today and that you'll have in the future, you'll take those home, you'll share that with your fellow students, and that's extremely important. You just never know the words that you say that are going to turn the lights on in these young people that can keep them on the straight and narrow, keep them on the right path. You know, I've been very, very blessed in my career, having had some strong mentors there at Mescalero who helped me get through school, both high school and college. When I got done with college, they helped me come back into a very meaningful, very productive position on the reservation. And I was very fortunate to be the natural resource manager for my tribe and for the 500,000 acres of tribal land that comprise our reservation. To the point where after about 10 years in that role, in that position, one of my tribal elders and one of my former bosses came to me, and he says, "Butch, you got to leave." I said, "What?" I said, "Leave this job? It's a wonderful job." He says, "No, you have to leave." He said, "You're not growing, and you need to experience the world outside of the reservation." And I thought about it, and boy, I tell you, it was hard, but I began to understand what he was saying and the importance of gaining that outside experience. And so I did. I took a job. I moved to Albuquerque, New Mexico, and just started from there, branching out and learning new things and creating new opportunities for myself. And if I had not done there, I would not be here today. As Janie mentioned, I did return home for a period of time, got involved in tribal politics, got elected to 2 terms on my tribal council, and that was a very, very valuable time for me. I learned a great deal in regards to the responsibilities of being a tribal leader. And it's much different when you're on the inside, looking and listening to your people and seeing the tremendous needs that are out there. And so I valued that time. And once, again, I was very blessed that once I finished those 2 terms on my tribal council, I got a call from the governor of New Mexico, former Governor Bill Richardson, asking me to come to work for him as the state forester for New Mexico. And again, it was a choice because I had never worked for state government. When I began my career 30 years ago, the only relationship that my tribe had with the state of New Mexico was in a courtroom. We were suing each other over gaming issues, tobacco issues, taxation issues, whatever. And you just sort of develop this mindset that state government is not for you because of those past experiences. Well, Governor Richardson changed all of that, and I became the first Native American state forester for New Mexico. And again, it opened new doors, created new opportunities for me in working with my fellow state foresters across the country. They began to come to me, and those foresters, those states that had a lot of tribes within their state boundaries, said, "Butch, we need some help." And we try to work with tribes, and we just aren't making strong connections. What are we doing wrong? Well, I had the same experience in New Mexico. When I stepped into that role, all of my staff immediately started coming to me. Says, "Butch, don't get us wrong. I mean, it's not that we don't want to work with tribes, because there was no track record. I mean, there was hardly any involvement between state forestry and the tribes in New Mexico, the 22 tribes that are located there. And they said, we don't know how to do this. Every time we try, we shoot ourselves in the foot. We say the wrong thing. We do the wrong thing. We don't talk to the right people." And I said, "Don't worry about that." I said, I'll help you with that. And I did, and I was able to. And immediately, just knowing the protocol of working with tribes. And every tribe is very unique. It's very different. You have to know that. But knowing that and educating people in that regard, those connections began to happen. And so today, even though I'm no longer there, our state forestry program in New Mexico is doing some tremendous work, working with the tribes out on tribal land. And it's been amazing. And we're seeing that same type of transformation. I'm seeing it personally within our federal agencies. And that's one of the reasons I'm so excited about coming to work for USDA, is that, as the Secretary mentioned, we have a senior advisor directly tied to the Secretary of Agriculture. Within the U.S. Forest Service, we have a very strong tribal relations program. And you're starting to see these kinds of developments, the kind of effort where agencies, federal agencies, are starting to realize the importance of working with tribes. As young people, you need to realize that when we say tribal country, we're talking almost 100 million acres of land in this country. And that's very, very important. Those are very valuable resources. And so that's what you need to be thinking about as you continue to develop yourself into these leadership positions. We're going to need you there. I mean, you're the ones that are going to be replacing us. And it's a huge responsibility. But again, I'm quite confident that you'll get there and you're going to do well once you step into those positions. The other thing I'm sure that most of you realize is that in being an Indian person, we have a very unique relationship with Mother Earth. The understanding that our parents, our elders have taught us in regards to that being connected, that all things are connected. Having that understanding just brings a real special relationship in what we do and how we work with our Mother Earth. And of course, my background is natural resources, and so that's had an ongoing influence my whole career. And it pains me sometimes in that in Indian country there is such a capacity issue. There's just not enough resource, not enough people to cover all the bases. We continually, in the federal government, we continually push partnerships, strong, sustainable, valuable partnerships. And we want tribes to be a part of that. But out on our reservations, there are only so many people that have to do all of this work. And so many times when there's opportunities at the national level, we ask people to come in, tribal people to come in, sit on various committees that are extremely important. We need that Indian voice at the table. There's no one there because it's either you get a natural resource manager coming into Washington, D.C. to sit on this very important committee and representing their tribe and other tribes sometimes, or they stay home and make the fish deliveries and support that local economic development right there at home. I mean, those are the kinds of very critical day-to-day choices that are people have to make, tribal leaders have to make. And so as a result of that, about 2 years ago, quite a bit prior to my coming on board here, I began working with a colleague of mine, Dr. Gary Morishima, from the Quinault Nation in Washington State, and we started to put together a concept in the development of a national tribal natural resource strategy. And today we term that ONR, Our Natural Resources, and we got that from our young people. We didn't know exactly what we were going to call this strategy, and then one day there was some T-shirts that our young people, and I'm pretty sure it was there at Mescalero at the fish hatchery there, our youth conservation program there. these kids were wearing these shirts, and it said O&R, O&R. And I asked them, what is this? And they looked at me and said, duh, O&R, we're texting, O&R, O&R. I said, what is that? They said, our natural resources, our Indian people, our natural resources. And so it was a done deal. We decided that's what we're going to term this national strategy. And so the whole idea behind this strategy is to began to work with tribal leadership in figuring out how to address this capacity issue. How can we come together more so as Indian people from across the country to work together to cover these bases, these very important bases? And a prime example of that happened this past spring. I had been working with other tribal managers from across the country and looking at addressing climate change issues that are starting to occur on our tribal lands, and trying to figure out how we can become involved in these national efforts that are dealing with climate change. And again, it was a capacity issue. Nobody had spare people that could cover this very important base. Well, I had a call from the Great Lakes Indian Fish and Wildlife Commission, called me there in Santa Fe, New Mexico, said, look, we've got some money, you've got some time, would you be willing to do this and be a tribal representative in this climate change effort? And we worked it out, and I was able to do that. And that's the whole premise behind this national strategy, is collectively have Indian country come together, address natural resource issues in a very holistic way, and start to cover many more of those bases in the interests of Indian natural resources. And so it's working, and I'm very excited about it, and looking forward to that strategy coming to fruition. One last example I want to share with you, and it's, I just read this morning. We have our national Christmas tree on its way to Washington, D.C., and this year it is coming off the Stanislaus National Forest in California, and for the first time ever, when that tree was cut down, it was blessed by a local tribal elder. First time. And I don't think it'll be the last time. But these are the kinds of things that we're starting to see, is that people, non-Indian people, are starting to realize that very important relationship that Indian people have with Mother Earth, as I mentioned earlier. And it's something that Indian people want to share with the world, because it's very special, it's very meaningful, and I'm excited because it's actually starting to happen. And I'm looking forward to seeing more and more of that. I could stand up here and talk for a lot longer, but I'm really quite anxious to hear what you have to say, and I'm looking forward to that, and I'm glad that I'm going to be able to take the time to do that today. But in closing, I just want to say that, again, I've been very, very blessed in my career. You just don't know how honored I was when I got the call from this administration. President Obama, Secretary Vilsack, giving myself and others, other Indian people, the opportunity to serve our country and to help create opportunities for young people like yourself it's wonderful. And I thank him for that.
Thank you, Butch. And now I want to introduce our three youth featured speakers who will each share a few words with us. I'll briefly introduce all three, but I'll let them share their thoughts with you in further detail. the first speaker is Odessa Oldham. She is the former state vice president of the Wyoming State FFA. She's truly a natural-born leader. She's an active member of her FFA chapter and has spent many years raising livestock. She has strong roots in agriculture and is a strong and positive role model, and she's currently attending Casper College. Our second speaker is Morgan Tucrow. She is a student at Oklahoma State University, where she's the president of the Native American Student Association and is serving as a student advisor on a planning committee for a nationwide intertribal food and ag summit to be held in 2012 on the OSU campus. And the third is Josh Moore, and we all heard the secretary mention his name. He's done a lot of helping of our office as we've stood the office up over the last couple of years. Josh is state vice president, or was the state vice president of the Arizona State FFA Association. He represented Yuma District and his home chapter, Parker FFA, and he's passionate about ag, and I think all three of them are passionate people as I've come to know them. He's currently a student at the University of Arizona studying animal science. So let's have Odessa come up to be immediately followed by Morgan and then Josh.
Hey Neyana, hey Ana, hey Neyana, hey heyo, heyo. I walk in beauty, yes I do, yes I do. I talk in beauty, yes I do, yes I do. I sing of beauty. Just for you and only you, hey-ah, hey-oh. Yad she Odessa Oldham yin she, cloak and nishle, bilagana bashin, ma indi skisni to she, bilagana dashanelle, shishama doshaja, Dwayne do Denise Oldham, ye, shishada Asia, shanajer, doshits illa jess, she won the legical land of Wyoming, ado Casper de Ainge ta. Allow me to translate. Hello, my name is Odessa Oldham. I am born to the Cloga clan, Weavers, and born for the Bilagana, Anglo heritage. My maternal grandfather was from the Maindishkizhni clan, Coyote Pass people, and my paternal grandfather was Bilagana, a white man. My parents are Dwayne and Denise Oldham. I have 3 siblings who are Aisha, Jared, and Jess. I'm from Lander, Wyoming, and I'm currently going to school at Casper College. I have just appropriately introduced myself to you in my native traditional language. I was born and raised until 13 years of age on the Navajo Indian Reservation, where my family owned livestock and a veterinary practice. And I moved to Lander with my family when I was in the 8th grade. The Navajo Native culture, or the Diné, as we refer to ourselves, is a matriarchal society. In Diné, you are born to your mother's clan, in which she passes down to you and all of her children. As for a child, you carry that clan identity for the rest of your life. The system is used to identify your family heritage and legacy, much like the surname in the European system. Therefore, we use it for proper introduction, particularly to our elders who are revered and appreciated with respect. And with this comes responsibility. And the stories are passed down about your family and who they were, helping you define who you are. Through my experience in my Navajo culture, I've learned from my grandmother that we walk down many roads, paths, and trails that define who we are. Walking sounds easy. For some it is. For some it is not. No one walks exactly the same unless you're on a dance team. But even then, as an individual, you put in your own beauty, or hajone, which is a single Navajo word that encompasses such English words as harmonization, synchronization, good hope, and success. The word hajone has the dignity of great simplicity, despite the complicated and beautiful ideas upon which it is based. Since I was a child, my life has been revolving around agriculture and hajone. I live on an active family ranch. I'm involved in 4-H and FFA. I was also a very competitive athlete in high school, competing in swimming, basketball, soccer, and softball. Whenever I performed in the water, on the court, or in the field, I revolved my sportsmanship around Hajone. And of course, being a Navajo from the Navajo Nation, I ate, slept, and drank basketball. I loved basketball. It was my favorite sport, and as a freshman, I was able to start varsity and get off to a promising start. And I was involved in FFA and the family ranch, but basketball was my priority because I wanted to be the first Navajo in the WNBA. Life, however, had a different plan. My sophomore year began. I was still up on varsity having a grand old time. My ag advisor, however, wanted me to get more involved with my chapter because I was an officer and I was on the livestock judging team. I told him basketball was my priority. Little did I know that a few games later, I would tear my ACL, MCL, and bruise my outer meniscus during the game. My ag advisor, on the contrary, had a plan. He got my mind off my knee by not only having me involved in livestock judging on the FFA team, but also extemporaneous public speaking. My brothers, teammates, and I won state convention and had the opportunity to travel to national convention in Indianapolis, Indiana. And I was able to make it to the finals at state convention with speaking. But then again, later that year, I was back on the court, having a blast. During state, I tore my ACL once more. And that wasn't the last time either. I tore it again my senior year. So obviously, the road that I was supposed to be traveling down was agriculture and FFA. But as my experience of living in crutches for 11 months in a wheelchair for about a month, I learned a lot more about myself and about life. I first learned that it is a blessing to have two legs and to be able to walk. And I also learned that you don't have to have a set of legs to walk. I met a young man who's never had the opportunity to use his legs in any way. Yet when a young lady told him how sorry she was that he couldn't walk, he simply replied, "I can walk, I just do it differently than you. I prefer a set of Hot Wheels," as he went rolling down the hallway. He spun around, he had the biggest smile on his face, and so did I. This gentleman helped open my eyes to how we can truly walk in beauty, how all of us have the hajone within ourselves as individuals. And after that life lesson, I continued my high school years with my head held high, even when times were hard, and I fell in love with my Navajo culture and with agriculture in my family's life. FFA and agriculture became my priority junior year after visiting National Convention. I realized the significance and the opportunity to be involved in a youth organization that is not only making a difference in the lives of young individuals, but making a difference in agriculture in our communities, our states, and our nation. My senior year, I once again competed in extemporaneous speaking, ranch management, and I prepared to run for a state officer and was able to serve as a state FFA vice president in Wyoming. I served my year, saw true hajone, not only in my fellow officers and leaders, but in the FFA members. Growing up with my Navajo traditions helped me to know who I am and where I'm going. My Masana grandmother, Shaja'a father, Doshima mother have told my siblings and I, treat people how you want to be treated. Be the example for those that are around you. Walk in beauty. Aisha, be the example for Jared. Jared, be the example for Odessa. Odessa, be the example for Jess. And Jess, well, Odessa taught you so well, we stopped having kids. Now, the song I sang is I Walk in Beauty, Hajone Nasha. I learned the song when I was very young. There are many versions of this song. It's a chant, a prayer, and a blessing. But they all have the same meaning behind them. No matter who you are, and no matter where you come from, walk in beauty, because those that are around you are watching you and are being influenced by you. Whether you want them to or not, they are. And we have to make the choice to walk in beauty. Every day we influence someone, whether we realize it or not. It could be a friend, it could be a family member, or a complete stranger you met on the metro trying to get to the USDA building. Walking in beauty translates to being who you are in a way people can recognize it and it radiates from you. The Navajos believe that hajone is before me, behind me, Above me and below me hovers the beautiful. I am surrounded by it and immersed in it. In my youth I am aware of it, and in my old age I shall walk quietly the beautiful trail. In beauty it is begun, in beauty it is ended. In 1874, the first Native American came to Washington, D.C. My great-great-great-great-grandfather and grandmother, Chief Manuelito and Juanita Azada Clogue, to assure that our lands were kept within the sacred mountains. It was called the Navajo Delegation, and they met with President Ulysses S. Grant. Chief Manuelito, my grandfather, wasn't able to persuade him to keep the land, but my grandmother was. She softened the president's heart and my grandfather's heart to stop the quarreling, and she was able to walk in beauty and convince him to let us keep our lands within our 4 sacred mountains. And now I'm here, and I have the opportunity to help my people and to lead them to where we can be in the future. Through my life, I have tried to live by following my grandmother's footsteps and walking in beauty. My goal is to continue making a difference in agriculture, FFA, in someone's life every day by knowing who I am and where I'm going, and by walking with true vision. And I challenge each of you to walk with harmonization, synchronization, good hope, and success. If we can all truly walk with beauty, look how far we've gotten. Imagine where we can get. Yeah, thank you. Thank you.
Hello, everyone. My name is Morgan Tucrow. I am a student at Oklahoma State University. I am studying political science, pre-law, double majoring in business with a minor in sociology. I am the Native American Student Association president, and I am a sophomore. I am very busy for being a sophomore, but I absolutely love it. I am Mandan, Arikara, Hidatsa, Cherokee, Sioux, and I'm an enrolled member of Choctaw Nation. One thing that my parents have always told me is to love yourself and do everything with your whole heart. I'm not in any kind of ag, if you heard, but through this whole thing, I have learned that not only does ag affect our lives every single day, but the people that are in it affect our lives every day. And one thing, when it comes to doing everything with your whole heart, my mom has always said, if you're not going to put your whole heart into it, don't do it. Don't waste people's time. Don't waste my time. Don't waste your time. And it's really, truly affected my life in every single possible way. I can remember when I was really young, my uncle owns horses up in Oklahoma, or I guess down now. I'm from Dallas, Texas, if I forgot to add that. So she would tell me to go clean the stalls with my older cousins. And I would go sit in there, and I'd take the shovel, and I'd kind of just push it around. And I told myself, okay, to clean it, you can just push it all into one corner. That was my thinking. Well, I went out there, and my mom came to check on me to make sure I was doing my job correctly, and I was in a lot of trouble. At that point, my mom told me, you're going to do this stall, you're going to do that stall, and that stall. And you're going to do it with all your heart and all your might. And from many experiences after that, I started learning that I'm not going to do something unless I put all my effort into it. If my name's on it, if my name's not on it, I'm putting all my effort, my whole heart into it. Ecclesiastes 9:10, whatsoever thy hands findeth to do, do it with all thy might. And I apply that to my everyday life, and I encourage you as the students that are representing not only our Native American culture, but amazing leadership roles at your school that you're going to take on to government roles, I hope, one day. I share that with you because it's something that's impacted my life in such an amazing way. The next thing that I would like to point out is something that I hold dear to my heart only because in the leadership positions I've been into many conferences, I've been to so many different just organizations that I've seen presidents, I've seen student council representatives from the national conferences and everything like that. And it's one thing to be a leader, but it's another thing to take what you're given and apply it back home. It's one thing to sit here and listen to the compliments and listen to people tell you that that you are the generation that's going to help change. But it's a different thing to take it home and impact those students that you see every single day. At reservations, you have siblings, you have family. Even if you're not on a reservation, your tribal land, your people, you impact them every single day. The kids, I'm one of 5. My little siblings, my little brother has gotten involved in everything I did in high school. I was student council president, class president, cheerleader. He wasn't involved in cheerleading. Track, cross country, soccer. And my sister was involved in all those things too. But my thinking was, I got to be better than her. My little brother's thinking was, well, my sister did it, my other sister did it, so I'll do it. And it wasn't until I started nagging him. I was like, you're going to do this and this and this, and you're going to do it with all your might. You're going to turn in that paper and not shoot for a B, but shoot for an A. It was things like that that motivated him and made him have a passion for things exactly like I did. And I got that passion from the speakers that I spoke to or listening to amazing people. And that's something that I want you to really embrace, that all the meetings that we go to, everything that we sit here and we're encountering at this moment, take it home. Take the lessons, take the memories, take the examples, and show them to your siblings. Show them to the people below you, because we might be the next generation, but we can't change anything unless we start at the roots. And the roots are the people below us. I have there's something called NARLP, and it's Native American Residency through Leadership and Scholarship, or Leadership at Oklahoma State University. And what we do is we pair up juniors and seniors with freshmen and sophomores. And the freshmen and sophomores pair up with high school students at Stillwater High across the street. And having little siblings, I know how much you can impact the kids below you. But it never hit me until we had our high school visitation day a couple of weeks ago, and students were talking about how they wanted to go to OU. And I don't know if you know anything about OSU and OU, but we're not the best of friends. So, of course, I started telling him all the great things we have at OSU, and we have a great Gallagher-Iba football stadium and basketball court, and, we have the best Colvin, which is the workout facility. And he stopped and he looked at me and he said, I don't want to go to OU because they're better at sports. I want to go there because there's a Native American program there. And I stopped right there, and I had a reality check. I'm here for my people. I'm here talking to Stillwater High School Native Americans because they look up to me and they want to impact their people. And that's whenever I turned around and I looked at them and I said, well, we're getting one next year. And from that point on, I started realizing that I impact every single person. And I called my little sister right after that, and I was like, my little sister is a Navajo baby. We adopted her. It took us 3 years to adopt her. And she is the pride and joy of my life next to my other little brother and my other little brother. That's really what started me on the law track. I wanted to become a Native American advocacy lawyer. At that point, we had no representation from the tribal council to adopt my little sister. And it really shook me at a very young age. I knew that there had to be something done. And so it's so nice to see people that have the same drive and dedication and passion for change and that want to do amazing things, because I feel like I fit in. It's nice to come and be surrounded by people with the same drive. The last point I want to make is the point of being somewhere and taking it all in. One thing in high school, I was involved in a lot of things, and I was always on this fast track. I was always going from one meeting to another or from one game to another game. And when I graduated, I was like, where's my friends? Where's everything? And I encourage you all to, where you are, where you're standing, what school you're in, impact your community first. Talk to the students around you. Impact the people around you. Make a group. Make some kind of foundation that can lead you up to the experiences that you want to encounter. That if you want to be in the White House or you want to be in Washington, D.C., build your foundation where you are. Start affecting the community around you, because that is truly where it's going to get you today. And so, saying that, I'm the student representative for, like she said, the OSU Partnership Summit. And as I'm sitting there, they're talking about agricultural productions, the market economy, the tribes, and my mind is just like I'm not an ag, and I had no idea. So what did I do? I went home and I Googled. I Googled the USDA. I Googled everything about it. And that Tuesday, I was asked to come to Washington. And I'm the kind of person that if there's a great opportunity, I'm going to do it. So she said, if you can get out of your classes, you can come to Washington. So I was like, my classes that's fine. Like, I emailed my professors, I got out, and I came straight here. And as I'm sitting in my meetings yesterday, we're talking with amazing people, and they're telling us how much agriculture affects every single day of every single life. And it wasn't until this morning I was talking to John, and I was going over the points I wanted to make today and how I wanted you all to understand where I'm coming from, not being an ag. And he looked at me and goes, those kids that don't have food, we feed them. The schools that they don't have enough money for lunch, we have reduced lunch. We help them. And that's when it all came together for me. I want to impact kids. I want to be able to help people. I want to be able to help my people. And being an ag, you affect people every single day, not just when you make a bill or you go to court. It's every single day. And that's something that I commend you all on, and I admire about each and every single one of you. And I would just like to thank you for having me here, and this is such an amazing honor to talk, and I feel so blessed. So thank you again, and I commend you on all your hard work.
Goodness, with all these pictures and praise we're getting this week, I feel like a grand champion market hog at the county fair. Next thing I know, somebody's going to tell me I have a nice ham loin junction. But all right, well, to begin, I'll talk a little bit about myself. First off, my name is Joshua Dane Moore. Now, many of you might know me as Buddy, but I guess I should probably explain that, because I promise I'm the same person. The nickname Buddy actually came from my grandfather. As a young child, I was actually raised by my grandparents because my mom was finishing school. And now my grandpa, he didn't want to admit that he was old enough to have a grandson, so he often referred to me as his little buddy. So I didn't stay little for long, and now I'm a big buddy. But anyways, I grew up on the Colorado River Indian Reservation, which is in Poston, Arizona, the Poston Parker area. Now, on the reservation there is Hopis, Mojaves, Chemehuevis, and Navajos. And in my certificate of Indian blood basically tells everybody that I'm a mutt, or res dog, whichever works. My predominant heritage is Hopi. I do have a little bit of Mojave, Chemehuevi, Pima, Papago, Kuchan, and on my mother's side, Hispanic and German descent. Now, the way the Hopi society works is your clan is received on your mother's side. My mother is not Hopi. So when I was initiated into the Hopi society, I was adopted, and my adopted clan is Sun Clan. So I'm pretty proud of that, even though I'm not short like most Hopis. I'm pretty tall. So that's a little bit about my Native American background. Some of my college experiences, I attend the University of Arizona, where I'm on the livestock judging team. my major is agricultural technology management with an emphasis in systems management and education. I'm double majoring in animal science. And on top of that, I have the wonderful job of traveling the United States and parts of Arizona promoting the College of Ag and Life Sciences. And agriculture has always been a very deep passion of mine. I was one of those kids who learned how to drive on the farm at 8 years old. Probably my first wheelie I ever popped was on a John Deere 4640. I got in quite a bit of trouble for popping the clutch. I was heavily involved in both 4-H and FFA. Funny story, my very first 4-H meeting, 9 years old, a little short chubby guy, more round than he is tall, was walking in this 4-H meeting. Now, they were doing officer election that day, and I had this wonderful idea that I was going to be club secretary. So here's this little 9-year-old nominating himself, standing up and saying, "I nominate myself for chapter secretary," and I got it. Now, that was both a blessing and a curse all at the same time, because I can tell you this much, a 9-year-old, it's hard to pay attention in any 4-H meeting and record minutes. And I learned quickly that I needed to pay attention, and I learned computer skills at the same time. So that was kind of where the ball started for me. I spent many years in 4-H from the time I was 9 to the time I was 18. In high school, I got heavily involved in the FFA, which is the National FFA organization. Some of my experiences led me to become a state officer. And in these experiences, state officers get the chance to travel across the state that you're from and work with students. It just so happens that Arizona has a very large Native American population, and I'm pretty happy to say that I got to travel from many reservations. Now, in my own language, I know how to say white man. It's Bahana. In Spanish, because I'm part Mexican, I learned how to say güero or güera. And then when I got to spend time on the Navajo reservation, I learned the word bilagana. So I'm pretty proud I can say white person in 3 languages. Going back to some of my agriculture and leadership experiences, these last 2 years I've spent time on active ag internships. I got to work at the University of Arizona Yuma Ag Center. Now, growing up in Parker, it's very heavily alfalfa and cotton, so I know a lot about forage and fiber, but I'd never worked in food production. And Yuma is the winter lettuce capital of the world, so next time you eat a salad, remember that probably came from Yuma. I got to work in that, and it was really neat because I didn't know much about food safety. I didn't realize how volatile food markets are, so it was a great learning experience. And then eventually, I went back home to my tribe, and they offered me an internship to work at our tribal farm. I was more of a management position, and I was a inventory manager. And part of that was I had to actually terminate somebody's position, which was probably one of the most difficult things I've ever done in my life. But I have to tell myself that, sometimes things happen, so you have to do that. A little bit more. When I was younger, I played football in Pop Warner. They used to call me Buddy the Tank. I was better at rolling through people than catching or passing a football. So a little bit about that. And it taught me a lot of teamwork and motivation. And now back to FFA, I want to concentrate on that because that definitely was one of the bigger parts of my life. The FFA, it is based on what is called the 3-circle model, for those of you who don't know. And when I think of the 3-circle, I think of a Venn diagram. And the first circle up here, we have classroom instruction. That is laboratory sciences, anything that you can learn in the classroom. And the next model, I imagine it's called SAE, which stands for Supervised Agricultural Experience. Each FFA member is expected to have some type of agriculture experience program, whether that be an entrepreneurship, an exploratory, or even a placement project. And last, there's the FFA side of the leadership. That is the public speaking, parliamentary procedure, or even just getting the chance to be an officer. And one interesting circle that is not added to it, but I read this the other day, is heritage. FFA is now thinking about including heritage into this 3-circle model. And that kind of brings us into Native Americans in FFA. Native American cultures are highly, highly similar to what FFA has to offer. They have the same values, whether it be responsibility, harmony, stewardship of the land, and many others. And I feel that heritage definitely plays a big role in FFA and in Native America. Now, as we start talking about Native American youth, the question is, why aren't there more FFA chapters on Native lands? Obviously, there's a big need to it. I mean, you see all these students here who made it to Washington, D.C., and they're doing a great job representing their people, but why isn't there more? But before we can answer that question, we have to go into the challenges that Native American students face. But I'm going to warn you before I start, there's no such thing as PG in some Native students' lives. Many students grow up in very stark realities that are alarming to many. Some grow up with close issues of alcohol abuse. For example, my own family, my father and my mother, they got a divorce, and that had to do with alcohol abuse. So it's a very real thing for me. There's drug abuse. These feelings of hopelessness that some Native Americans feel can lead to this, and sometimes it has to do with fitting in. It's a very real thing. Teen pregnancy. In my family alone, I know I have 3 male cousins who are about the same age as me, and all of them have children. I mean, I know that I can barely take care of myself, so what makes me think that I can take care of a child? Domestic violence. Growing up, I had a friend. I'm not going to say his name, but his mother was actually killed in a domestic violence case. I don't really get to see this friend very much because we chose different paths, but domestic violence is something that many Native American youth deal with. And on top of that, you have the more social and economic issues such as poverty, high poverty levels on reservations, lack of jobs. Many Native Americans feel that there's a lack of role models in the youth side of it. There's a lack of leadership. There's also the cultural identity lost. There's the loss of culture itself. I mean, me personally, loss of native languages. I can say very few. I know very little of my native languages. And also, there's always the small-minded thinking. Sometimes when I go home, I think of it like this. I don't know if any of you know what crawdads are, but they're like the little crab-like creatures. And I use them to go fishing when I go home. And sometimes when I go home, I feel like my reservation is a bucket of crawdads. If one crawdad gets too high up, the other one goes and pinches it and brings it back down. There's big problems with small-minded thinking on reservations, whether it's from subsistence lifestyles, just living from day to day, lack of planning and goal setting for the future, just settling, and also the feeling that the world ends at the reservation line. But I'll tell you this much, the world does not end at the reservation line. Now that we know what these issues are, I want to talk a little bit more about some of the possible solutions and models that do work. First off, almost every reservation that I've ever been to has multiple agricultural assets. Whether they're water resources, like my own tribe, who is allotted approximately 1/3 of Arizona's water allotment, or it's just land. The Native American heritage is based around agriculture. There's shared values between agriculture and Native America, whether it's learning from our past, stewardship of the lands, protecting valuable resources, and a true connection to the world around you. And the basis of this conference is promoting Native American youth. Well, here in front of you, in this front row, there is a group of students who are successful, who have made it past these struggles. Some of them came from 4-H programs where they experienced the introduction to youth leadership, experience, and early introductions to different values in their lives. And from my own growth and some of these other students, the FFA, whether it was an organizational connectedness and a feeling of belonging. For example, this year at the National FFA Convention, there was a Native American Heritage Celebration. I was allowed the chance to take part in this, and I remember during the first opening session, there was a few chapters there that had not been to National Convention in over 15 years. Now, if you've never been to a National Convention, you can expect about 54,000 students in blue jackets in Conseco Fieldhouse. And in many of these students, it was their first time realizing that the FFA is a national organization with over 500,000 members in all 50 states and 2 territories. And can you imagine suddenly coming to the realization that, hey, I'm part of something bigger? That feeling of belonging is what many students crave. I know that I craved it, and now that I have it, I'm unstoppable. And also, the FFA has really taken huge steps in promoting diversity and inclusion. As I said before, everybody just wants to feel that belonging, and everybody wants to be included. And FFA has done a great job of making everyone feel that way. And another aspect of agriculture education that I help with a little bit is FERTEP, which is Federally Recognized Tribal Extension Programs. I know I have a very close connection with my FERTEP agent in my hometown, and this allows me to feel a connectedness and a belonging within my own state's, goodness, I can't think of what it's called. Extension, sorry, that's what it is. So now, in conclusion, I know a lot of these students here hear these global population predictions from the World Health Organization. What is it, 9 billion by 2050? All I know is that our generation is going to be known as a generation that had to do more with less. But this issue, it creates an opportunity for economic growth in Indian country. Economic growth leads to a brighter future, more jobs, stronger families, and more opportunities. But before any of this can happen, the idea must be planted. I imagine this like a piece of corn. We must spark an interest in the youth, because sometimes the youth aren't that interested. But programs like the FFA, 4-H, and FERTEP can plant this spark. The USDA and other agencies, they can supplement this, but before any of the Indian growth in agriculture can happen, the spark must be planted. And then when it is allowed to reach full maturity for harvest, with the help of programs offered by the USDA, this will lead to a brighter future in Indian country. And so now, as I close this up, I want to leave you all with a personal mantra that 3 of the main philosophies that I grew up in. First off, every FFA member learns the FFA creed. The words, "I believe in the future of agriculture," are memorized by every person who wears a blue jacket. And secondly, as a 4-H'er, you learn to make the best better. And then in my own family, my grandfather's advice was, the only thing that you take with you when you go is your name. So make sure that in your lifetime, you make your name a good one. And I combined all that together with believe in yourself to make a better tomorrow. So I leave you with that. I challenge each and every one of you to believe in yourself and make a better tomorrow. Thank you.
So, as you can see, I'm not really worried. We have some wonderful potential interns for all of USDA. I encourage you to get to know these young people while they're here with us. And we can have them back some other time. I encourage you to support them. And I personally am not worried about our future because I know it's in good hands. We have one small, do we have the tape? For those of you who can stay, I encourage you to stay for 5 more minutes because there is a DVD from the Native American Heritage Celebration of FFA that we can show right now. So if you just give us 5 more minutes, I think you'll be further inspired, and I thank you for coming, and we'll conclude after the video. And thank you for being here.
The National FFA organization celebrates Native American heritage. Native Americans have always been stewards of the land, living off the land and using resources to their ultimate potential. Native Americans have a rich history in FFA, agriculture, and agricultural education. There are over 200 FFA chapters that serve students who have self-identified as Native American. These chapters are found in 20 states across the country, reaching all corners of our map. Even though our lifestyles or language may be different, we all desire the same leadership attributes and we all live to serve. Many values and rituals of Native Americans overlap those of FFA: character, teamwork, stewardship, and sustainability. Just as corn brings all our states together, it also plays a significant role in the Native culture.
Nature takes care of its own. And we're getting away from all of that. we got away from it so far that we're living in an artificial world now.
And today we use the corn on top of the flag pole at Rodriguez, because to us it means life.
Corn is very important to us because we're able to get corn pollen out of it. And this is part of our culture. Corn pollen is what we do our blessing and our praying with. We also use white corn that we grind.
What does being Native American mean to you?
Being Native American means to me is the ability to be unique, strong, and free-spirited.
In many communities, the FFA has been transformational, setting the stage for a community need to be assessed and then acted upon.
Well, the Monument Valley chapter was founded in 1968.
It all started in a pretty interesting story. When I came up and was teaching here, I had a student with the horse with colic. A few days later, another student came in, and then it kind of spread like wildfire. And they needed somebody up here to be able to take care of their livestock. So what better opportunity is to teach the students to take care of their own?
In this facility, we have a total of 10 rooms, I believe. We have a regular classroom where we spend most of our time. The next room is our small animal prep room suite. It has 11 kennels, a small animal surgical room, real veterinary tables, surgical lights, everything, an autoclave machine to clean our tools. In the next room, we have a large animal surgical room. We have a harness where we pick up large animals if we need to. In the next room, we have a whole padded room dedicated to our large animal recovery. Upstairs, we have 2 classrooms overlooking the surgical rooms. We also have a dirt arena and a concrete area. Our dirt arena is what we would use to, for show practice when students show sheep. Our concrete area holds a silencer squeeze chute. It's one of a kind, the only one in Arizona, Four Corners area.
I wouldn't go anywhere else. I love teaching the students here on the Navajo Nation.
I think what FFA does is pull together that pride in showing, again, what especially Native American kids have done and have learned from the generations past on how to respect the land. What you take, you put back. And I think that ability to continually to do that, to take care of the land and cherish the land for what it is and respect the land for what it is what not only tribes and Native American kids do, but what FFA does. So with that, look to your left, look to your right. If you see somebody from a reservation, go up and say hello. They do share the same, again, dreams, visions, and goals.
I believe FFA was just one of those things that I was involved in that gave me leadership, that gave me respect, that gave me to honor others who I worked with.
The most important thing that I have come to know from my 14 years that is kids are kids and students are students, no matter what their background is, where they were raised and who raised them. All our kids have the same problems, they have the same issues, they have the same dreams, they have the same desires. FFA offers us the vehicle, and I hope that our Native students will identify with the FFA and see themselves in that same bus, see themselves in that same vehicle.
As different as we are, we all desire the same. No matter who we choose to love, how big our bank account, how light or dark our skin, who we vote for, how old or young, where we grew up, how strong our accent or what language we speak, we have a need for the same thing. We all want a sense of belonging. We all want a place where we are respected, connected, and affirmed.
Thank you, everybody, for coming and for spending your time with us today. Thanks, FFA, and all of our sponsors with FFA who brought the young people here. And thank you for being a part of this. And we have our next thing on our agenda we have to get off to. So have a good afternoon.